Hi, everyone. So, David is one of the great product leaders I've been following for the last almost year and a half. I love his posts. I love his work. I think he's doing massive, great contributions on LinkedIn. I've read lots of his posts and lots of the things he's sharing. Quite amazing. And I love this one here, which is talking mainly about product roadmaps. So, for the people who knows me, I love product roadmaps. It's really one of the things that supports product managers really to do the work in the right way. And it's a great collaboration tools across cross-functional teams. Now, what David has done here, he has shared a template on Miro board to show how you can go on the product roadmap. And he is arguing that you should be able to do on a roadmap that using adaptation, like what you're going to do now, what's going to be next, what's going to be later, right? And it's quite simple. And he's giving lots of great recommendations. So I think it's a massively great one. What I want to add here and building on this great contribution is that if you're working in the tech industry, you see the life cycle going quite fast, right? So in some cases, you don't really have the time that you forgot what you actually have done in the last cycle, right? Because it's almost 3 months before. But when you're looking at other industries where the life cycle is more than 2 years, 3 years, like for example, in the home appliance industry, sometimes you need to really see things in a different perspective. And I want to add another adaptation on the great one that he shared here. Now, if you take a look at this, so we're going now to the Miro board, and we're going to take a look what we should really add more on top of this to make it a bit more customized for other industries as well. So as you can see, you have the board here, and you have now, next, later, and the trash part. And it says that you should be able to put less things, keep more focus, and start filling the trash bin with things that are not either realistic or things that you're not going to do at the end of the day. What I want to add here is that you can build on top of this by adding something different, right? Or adding something else. So let's move this part here. And what I really want to add here is that I want to add another part, right? And I want to call that part before. And I'm going to tell you why we're going to add that part. So here you add the before part. And the reason for adding before here is that for product managers who are working in industries taking a longer life cycle, sometimes you need to understand the history. What happened? What did we do before? How did we evolve from before until now? So this is mainly the outcomes that you chased before. And here it depends on the life cycle. Sometimes for the tech industry it can be 3 months, 6 months. For other industries it can be up to 1 or 2 years even. So in here, it gives you a good context on what happened before. Now, the other thing I want you to add is that you take out the trash part here and move it on the side. And then you add another part here, which is called end goal. So what does that end goal mean here? So let's think in a different perspective. Now, as a product manager, you have all these great features, all these great ideas. So I want you to put the best perfectionist product you can imagine. If you had unlimited amount of resources, if you had all the time, what do you want to reach? And I'm going to tell you why now. Because this roadmap is an iterative shared live document. So it gets updated every month, every 2, every 3 months. It depends on the industry and on the product. But I want you to see the progression of how this end goal gets evolved. Now, in some companies, or even in some industries, you would see that the end goal starts changing dramatically every time you update the roadmap, which means one of few things. Either you really don't know what you want to reach, which is quite drastically bad. That's one thing, but it can be solved by doing research, understanding more about the customer, and other stuff as well. Or it can mean that the industry have a lot of disruption, have lots of updates, that you cannot really fixate on what would be the best product for your end consumer, because every while there is something drastically new that gets updated, and it changes the landscape quite dramatically. Now, this is really a scenario that wouldn't happen regularly, but it can sometimes happen in new industries as well, or in niches. So if you have a certain niche where you are targeting a specific consumer, it can sometimes happen if there are lots of disruptors entering that niche. Now, one other part you can start adding on top of this is the trends. So I want you to come here, and on top of every part here, you will add another section, and that section will be called trends. So let's take all this here, and let's move it up, and we can call this part trends. So what do we mean by trends? So you need to understand that it's good that you're developing the product. It's good that you're trying to achieve what you want for your customer, but there are also trends happening not just in your own industry, but also happening across different industries that's gonna affect you either directly or indirectly. Now, for example, if you started looking at the home appliances industry, right? We see different trends happening in different waves. So talking about, for example, energy consumption. For the last 10 years, everyone has been saying energy consumption is important, but it's too expensive. We keep it only in premium products. But if you start looking now, for example, at Europe, right? They are implementing, governmentally, of course, lots of new regulations, updating the energy requirements quite drastically. And this is actually pushing manufacturers to start putting the better energy products across the entire range. It's not just a niche market now. It's across the entire range. So understanding the trends that happened before, understanding the trends that are happening now, and what do you believe is going to be the next and the later trends. So with this picture, you can understand what happened before, what's your end goal, and what are the trends affecting this. Now, in some cases, this is maybe too much to do, but I can tell you that looking at this holistically can give you a completely different perspective. Thanks a lot, and I want to thank David for sharing this template. It's quite amazing. I'm going to be using it going forward. Thank you.